Welcome to Koho, Living Spiritual Greatness. I am your host, Meiwengel, and I want to invite you on a journey to get to know and to be reminded of your spiritual greatness and how you can live it consciously so that you can create the life you desire. We are all spiritual beings here on earth to have a human experience, and when we focus on this, we are able to create paradise on earth. Come join me in this movement to make this world a better place by letting go of our fears, old patterns, attachments, and resistance. If you want to help shape this podcast, or if you just like my work and want to support it, become a patron of mine. You will have the possibility to ask questions that will be answered in the podcast or receive special coachings in a group or one-on-one setting. You will find the link to my Patreon page in the show notes. But for now, have fun with today's episode. Servus and aloha, my beautiful beings out there, my beautiful starseeds. I'm coming here to talk to you about something that, as you see, I'm looking for words because I think it's, I don't want to get it wrong. I want to get it right. But this video today, this podcast episode today is inspired by a question that I got on my YouTube channel where I was asked if I believe in Jesus and if I know that he's the only savior. And I was thinking how to answer that question best. So today's episode is going to be about belief. Maybe just to give you an idea of my background, I was born and raised into a very Christian Catholic family. So I was raised with all the, how do you say, values. I was raised with all the Christian values. You know, the laws that are given by the church. I had the opportunity to become, how do you call those little kids that help with a ceremony with Mass? I was doing that as a child because in the area that we were living in Germany was allowed for girls to do that. And I even made it to my first communion. I think it's called first communion, where you get, like the first ritual to come into the spiritual community of the Christians. And then we moved to Nicaragua, and that's where I had my first big questions of beliefs. Because I had been taught all my life the dogmas and the rules of the church. And I got to a point where I was watching people suffering because they were following those rules. And it was all with and please don't get me wrong, but I just want you to get an idea of this. I'm not judging anyone, but I just want to give you a good picture. So it was all with the excuse because it was done in God's name. And it actually led me to a big point where I didn't want to believe in the church anymore. I knew I had a big, strong belief that there was something out there, that there is something that we could give the name God, the energy, now the universe. I like calling it the universe now, or the goddess. But I got into, I really lost my faith in the church because it felt like the church wasn't giving proper support, and it was giving rules that were going against certain natures of humans, and it was actually being more harmful. But I still knew that I had a belief. So I went on, I mean, my spiritual journey probably started there, but I started digging into older beliefs. So I started looking into, you probably heard of the old beliefs in Europe with the Celtics and what later was called witchcraft. And I'm not talking about black witchcraft because I was always looking for it to be, to have good things doing. I never wanted to be someone that did anything bad. So I was looking into that and I learned those beliefs, still not being happy with the church. And then finally, after a couple of years, I started learning about shamanism. And that actually returned me back to the Catholic belief. But again, always with the distance to the Catholic Church as an institution. But I believed that the Christian belief is a very loving belief system. It's filled with love, harmony. It tells us to be good people. It gives us an ethical compass on how to deal with other humans around us, right? And it was interesting because maybe it was my shamanic teacher. So if I go now into the question, do you believe in Jesus? Yes, I believe in Jesus. I believe in the energy behind that. I believe he was a great healer, and I believe that we today can always call on his energy and call on that to do our work, to get help, to get support. I strongly believe in the energy, in the strength and the power of prayer. I believe that if someone prays, you can do a lot, because I grew up having a grandmother that really, really prays every day. And I've seen the miracles that she created by her connection to God. But of course, I didn't stop there. I started looking into other belief systems like Buddhism, and also had a friend that was Muslim, so I also spoke about their beliefs, and didn't have too many Jewish people around me, but I did hear and read a little bit about their belief system. And also because on my spiritual journey that I started with my shamanic teacher, he gave me a lot of books to read that also integrated those belief systems. And I remember attending a weekend training about the Mayan calendar, and having that teacher explain our whole system, our whole way of being, with words that came out of the Bible, out of the Quran, and out of the Torah. And that's one of the things that I've realized on my spiritual path, is that somehow all religions, all of them, give us the same teachings. They all teach us to love and to be good to each other, and to create a good life for all of us. And also in the Bible that says, love thy neighbor like you love yourself, or be good to your neighbor as you are to yourself. And you find all those beliefs. It's all about, being good to each other. It's giving us values to hang on to, right? And when I started learning the Hawaiian philosophy and diving deeper into that, it opened up more, because it showed me that being spiritual didn't mean that I had to belong to one religion. Being spiritual meant that I believed. And that in the end, it doesn't matter what I believe, as long as I believe, as long as I have values that stick behind it, as long as I am a good person, as long as the same as I accept myself, I allow and accept others in their beliefs. So I think that's one of the things why I can jump from believing in God and in Mary and in Jesus. I can also jump into a different culture that I think the Christian culture also believes a lot in angels, angel energy, angel vibration that can help us. And just like in the shamanic world, we talk about spirit guides. And if you talk to people that do Reiki, they talk also about energies and energy beings. And so I started to see this pattern around everything, that in the end, we were all just naming it differently, but we were all talking about the same thing. It's all energy. We're talking about energy. And it doesn't matter how I call it, what name I give it. And I think that biggest realization was, on one hand, when I was thinking about the old beliefs in Europe, and then I saw the festivities we have nowadays from the Christian church, and then I see that they were adapted to the Celtic or the old beliefs in Europe so that they could get more people in. Nowadays, we know that the birth of Jesus wasn't on the 24th of December, but we know that winter solstice, where the old beliefs systems believed in the rebirth of the year, would happen. So that's when we have Christmas, right? That's when we celebrate the birth of Jesus. So that's when we celebrate the birth of the new year. And it's also the same like the Day of the Dead. That's also a celebration that the Celtics had. Now we know it as Halloween. Some of you know it as Halloween. And that's where we celebrated our ancestors that walked the earth. And Halloween was a festive, used to be before it got a little bit commercialized. It used to be a festivity that was celebrated to, like it would bring people out of their houses so that the houses will be empty so that the ancestors could have one more day in their houses. And also I had a time in my spiritual path where I had to do a lot with Santeria. Some of you might know Santeria. And Santeria is similar also maybe to voodoo. And it's not what Hollywood says for everybody who's going like, ooh, no, it's not that. Hollywood really made it look bad, but it's a belief system. But I didn't learn too much voodoo. I learned more about the Santeria. And I learned that the Nigerian slaves that came over, that were brought over, and were not allowed to celebrate their gods, they hid their gods in the santos, in the saints of the Christian church. So, and it's so interesting to watch because they have their belief system of gods, and they're all hidden in the saints. So it's basically the saints represent the same energy that the gods would represent for the Santeria people. And again, it was same energy, because they even have like the same colors, the same days, like only the name is different. So it taught me that's just a name we put on it. That's just a name that we put on probably to name the energy that we're using when we're together. You know that in Europe there's a movement of Druidism. So there's people that actually, work with Druid energy. And they speak of the energy of Merlin. And so when you look at that, it's all, you know what I'm trying to say? It all depends on what name I give it. And if I want to talk about Jesus energy, I'm connecting myself with the energy that represents that with all the stories and all that we know to be true for each person with that energy. Just take, also if you look at the way the whole pantheon of the Greeks and the Romans transformed into each other. And because we have Neptune and Poseidon, they're both the same, just that one is Greek and the other one was created for the Romans. And probably if you find some saint in the Catholic Church that is the one that takes care of the ocean. So it's the similar if you go into the Hawaiian philosophy, they also have different gods for different things. Like the most known is Pele, because she's the goddess of the fire, and she lives in the volcano on Big Island. So a lot of people know Pele. But if you look at the description of what she represents, it has to do with, for me at least, it's very connected to Chango from the Santeria, and also connected to Saint Barbara, who's also the saint of fire. So what I'm trying to tell you basically here is, and this is with full respect to everybody, whatever belief system you are in, if for you it helps to go into a church, into a Christian Catholic church, and to follow the dogmatism that tells you who Jesus is, who Mary is, and who God is, and the Holy Spirit, that's awesome. Follow that. If that makes you feel good, that's good. If you're someone that believes in nature and in the gods of nature, that's awesome. Follow that. If you believe in angels, follow that. If you're someone that believes in energy, follow that. And the thing is, don't let anybody tell you, like, be open for yourself. If you want to, get to know other kinds of beliefs and see if there's something that resonates with you that you like. But allow yourself also to be acceptant of others maybe having other different kinds of beliefs. The thing is, in the end, we all just want one thing. We all want to return to the abundance of love. We want to return to unconditional love. That for me is what God is, what Jesus is, all the gods, all the energies that we have, all the angels, all the belief systems that we have. Each and every one of them, Buddhism, I don't know, I don't want to name all of them, but if you take all of them together, all of their main messages are all aiming towards unconditional love. And that's the most important thing. And in the end, it doesn't matter what you believe. It only matters if you are fine with what you believe and you are fine with what others believe. It's okay if you believe in this or in that. Like I said, I believe in the end, we all believe the same. We just give it a different name. So always take that works for you. You know, there's people that connect to God by going into a forest. There's people that connect to God or the universe by prayer. And there's people that connect to God by meditation. And in the end, it doesn't matter if I do or don't. I felt the closeness of God when I watched my grandmother pray, but I've also watched the presence of God in nature, when I see the beauty, when I see people connecting together and helping each other. Like right now in the situation that we're having right now, there's so much beauty within that, because it shows me when people get together and help each other and create things for each other. And that's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is that. And that is basically my answer. I believe that you can believe whatever you want, as long as it helps you. That's awesome. I believe there's not only one way, because as many human beings as we are on this planet, as many different kinds of beliefs we have, and as long as we are connected to whatever we want to call that source, the universe or God, I think we're on a good path to go back to what we call that unconditional love. Yes, I made it through. I hope this helps a bit, because in the end, it's always about accepting ourselves the way we are. That's why I said the sentence, love the others as yourself, like it says in the Bible. I'm probably saying it wrong because right now I only have the sentence in German in my head, but you know what? You know which sentence I mean, because I know a lot of people know it from the Bible. And it's about that. It's about accepting ourselves, allowing ourselves to, hey, I'm allowed to believe this, and it's okay to believe this. But it's also okay for other people to believe something else, because we all just want the same thing. You know, when you choose clothes, you might like something that someone else doesn't like. And it's okay. You know, you accept them wearing different clothes than you, right? You don't need them to wear all the same clothes like you have, right? And it's the same with our beliefs. I think it's okay for us to be a little bit different, but it's also okay for us to embrace this diversity that we have and allow ourselves to believe different things, but to know that in the end, we're all talking about the same thing. Yeah. So I hope I could answer this question in a good way about belief. And like I said earlier, no matter what you believe, I'm grateful that you believe. And if what you do helps you, that's amazing. And also because for this podcast, if anything that I say resonates with you, that's awesome. And I'm grateful that we can walk this path together. And if it doesn't resonate with you, then I might probably not be the right person. So you might have to find someone else. But that's how it's supposed to be, right? That's all in acceptance and all in love. So, yeah. Thank you for listening in and taking the time to listen into this very, how do you say? I think it's, a very thoughtful one. Do you say thoughtful when I've been thinking a lot about it? It's a little slow because I didn't want to get it wrong. No, I'm saying it wrong. I do want to get it right because I don't want you to misunderstand me. So I hope you were able to get something out of this for yourself. And thank you for asking that question. If you have more questions, please come to my Patreon, and you can directly support the podcast and also get involved in the creation of the podcast. So, yeah, thank you very much for tuning in again, and I hope you had a wonderful Easter weekend and a good time in, how do you say, the resurrection? It is celebrated. We're celebrating Jesus' resurrection, but it's also the resurrection of the year, because now everything's coming out of the earth, and it's a time to celebrate that everything is going back to life again, and the birds, are out again in nature, is showing us how the cycle of life goes on. So sending you a big hug. Thank you so much for everything. And yeah, have a great time. Bye-bye. Mahalo.